I'm going to try to respond to this lady as kind and nice as possible.
Thin privilege. Now, it's not a mythical creature or something made up. If you're thin, you have a certain privilege.
If you are thin, you have a certain privilege. Interesting statement. Could I respond to you, lady, saying that you have overweight privilege because you are able to eat anything you want at any time? Could I say that you have a foot privilege because your feet fit into shoes or do not fit into shoes that are the normal size, or my feet are smaller than yours, therefore you have foot privilege? To make my case even further, look at my hair right now. Look, this is a receding hairline right here, okay? It runs genetically in my family. You can see this hair. Look at that. Look at how far. Look at how big my forehead is, guys. Do I have hair privilege because I'm not fully bald yet? Does that exist? Receding hair privilege over other people who have not had their, hair completely fade out? A real example of privilege would be, for example, the fact that we in the USA are able to consume and have an abundance amount of resources in food. Whereas in other countries around the world, such as South Africa, middle of Africa, the continent of Africa, people don't. They don't have clean water, they don't have food. In that regard, yes, we do have privilege, and the word privilege can be applied in ways that are actually accurate and contextually make sense. This idea that everybody has privilege in their own way because of the shoes that they wear, the size of their overweightness, or the thinness of how they are, is just preposterous. You can't take this word that actually means something that does exist and then equally apply it to small little intricate things that at the end of the day really shouldn't matter, like my receding hairline. I guess I have privilege over the fact that there are a lot of other people who are bald, right? The reason I'm using these examples is just to point out how ridiculous this has become. It's not to deny that privilege does not exist, because in certain instances it does. But it needs to be applied where it exists, not where it does not.
It's the everyday tasks that a thinner person can take for granted. They can leave a plus-size person like myself feel full of anxiety, burden and upset, and feeling as though they don't belong and don't deserve a place in here.
Do you not realize that whether you're thin or overweight, there are a lot of mean people who will make you feel like you don't deserve to be on this earth? It has nothing to do with whether you being overweight or you being thin. If you go to a public school or you're a little bit socially awkward, you could be treated really poorly by your fellow students to the point of where you don't feel like you belong on this earth. Yeah, maybe some people will go after somebody's weight. People will also go after people being too thin. There's this crazy stigma about body image and how you should be, how you should look all the time, whether you're thin or overweight. But the fact of the matter is that it's, I make you upset. I make you feel like a burden. I give you anxiety. I make you, lady, I make you feel uncomfortable simply by me being me, by me being thin? What? Me just being me makes you feel uncomfortable? There's nothing I can do about that, and I'm not going to acknowledge this non-existent idea that you want to place all personal responsibility that you put yourself into to get to a certain lifestyle and body weight, and you try to project your issues onto other people around you. That's not cool. I don't like that. I don't want to be told by you that I'm making you feel uncomfortable just by being me because you choose a lifestyle choice of consuming certain things and foods that contribute to you being a heavier set person. And if you are heavier set, there's nothing wrong with inherently you being a heavier set, except the medical disadvantages that are going to become an issue with your weight. And here's the thing, is like, you have somebody who is 5'1", and there's a designated weight for somebody with that height. You can have somebody who is 7 foot in a woman who's 7 feet in height, and there is a body weight that fits that height. Based upon your height, there are disadvantages to you based upon your weight and your height. If you choose to go above what your recommended body metabolism for your height should be, and there's medical disadvantages if you go below, what your body should be, how many calories and your normal body weight. Overweight, underweight, they're gonna both cause problems to you physically down the line.
So, public transport, what a nightmare for plus size people. Just think, can you sit in a seat and not be met with sighs, huffing, puffing, and someone squirming in the seat next to you, making you feel uncomfortable and knowing that they don't want you there?
Wow, did you really just go there? Do you have any idea about personal space and how important personal space is? A personal life example of myself is when I was on an airplane. And look, I am really not that judgmental when it comes to people's weight, but I am a bit judgmental when people violate my personal space. And by personal space, I don't mean just sitting next to me. I'm talking about I was on a flight, and I was in the middle seat, and I had a person on my left, and I had a person on my right, and the person on my right next to the window was somebody who was overweight. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, I don't care if somebody's overweight. But if they're overweight to the point where I literally, as a thin person who's 155 pounds, is sitting in between, and I have no armrest, the armrest is literally consumed by this person because they're so wide, and they're extremely overweight, that their arm is like literally popping over the armrest and touching me. So literally I have no room. I'm literally sitting like this, in between a person and another person on my right, and I'm having to lean to my left and violate this other person's space because, the seat, there's not enough room because the person sitting on my right is significantly overweight and they're touching me, and I don't want to be touched. I don't want to be touched by somebody. It's a seat for a reason. There's an arm rest for a reason to separate, the normal, most people's weight and people who fall into the seat size typically it's for certain heights and certain weights up to a certain point. But there's a point where it's too much. I'm not going to apologize for trying to get comfortable in a seat in which somebody who should be reserving 2 seats on the airplane is touching me and then violating my personal space. That's what it boils down to. I don't care if somebody's overweight is sitting next to me. But if they're overweight to the point where they're touching me and violating my personal space, yeah, I'm going to try to squirm and not feel violated by somebody touching me that I don't want touching me. And if it's really that big a deal, don't use public transport. If it makes you that uncomfortable and that upset traveling because of your size on public transport, don't go and find a car. Get a car for yourself. But then I guess if somebody has a car and you don't, they have car privilege now, don't they?
Shopping, can you go into 99.9% of the high street and shop, try on, and take an outfit away that very same day and not actually being able to go and enjoy the experience of shopping?
Lady, how is it my problem that you can't experience shopping in a way that other people can? How is that my problem? How is that me having privilege over you by based upon you putting yourself in a situation where you want to eat what you want to eat with no repercussions, and you can be the size that you want to be? That's fine. I'm not judging you for the size that you want to be. But you not feeling comfortable in clothes and trying to project us being comfortable in our clothes because we fit in our clothes and there's sizes for our clothes, and you choose not to be a weight that your body for your height is, determined to be. You choose to go above your body weight of 170 pounds based upon you being, a 5'12" girl, and you want to be 300 pounds. It's not my fault that you don't fit into things. And I'm not going to judge you for that, but you're the one who's now judging me for being able to shop in a way that you want to be able to shop, but you can't. Like, what? That doesn't even make sense to me. Whatever happened to personal accountability and responsibility to your own health? What you do to your own health, whether it be bad or healthy or not healthy, that doesn't reflect upon me who makes healthy choices. It's like you put yourself in this position where you got to this certain weight, you seem to be unhappy with yourself, but you're pointing your finger around at everybody else saying that you're the problem. You're the problem. This is why I'm this way. You're the problem. And that doesn't work, okay? Stop trying to put everybody else as a problem and focus on yourself, lady.
Grabbing something to eat, just think, can you pop into a bakery, pick up a donut, and sit there and then enjoy it, and not feel that you've been met with stares or comment, I cannot do that?
Yes, you can do that. It's your choice. You choose how to live your life. And at the end of the day, regardless if someone is staring at you in public, you taking offense to someone looking at you or judging you in public. That's something that you have to figure out in your head on how to deal with that properly. I have scars on my arms. And I used to be really, self-conscious about going in public when some people would stare at my arm because it would be really noticeable back when I was younger. And there were people used to make comments on them. But now it's gotten to the point where it doesn't bother me anymore. I grew really, really thick skin, and if people want to stare at my arm, they're more than welcome to. But that's not going to stop me from going outside and going to a restaurant and getting a burger because I have scars on my arms because I'm worried somebody's going to stare at me. People are going to stare no matter what you are, what you wear, what you do, what you say. It's like you expect to go out in public and never have somebody look at you, never have somebody stare with you, never have somebody judge you. That's just not reality. And there's really no way to stop that from not happening. If you were super, super thin and you were like a beautiful model or something, you'd get stares too. It's just how it is. I don't know what's the point of mentioning that people stare at you, that you can't eat a donut without somebody staring at you?
Going to the doctors. Are you able to go and be seen and diagnose what is actually wrong with you? Or the appointment turned into a weigh-in session? And to be honest, I actually avoid going to the doctors now just because I don't feel like I'm taken seriously.
Wow, what a great life choice. You avoid going to the doctors. Well, if you ever die of heart failure or are diagnosed with cancer or anything bad health-wise, you'll know why that you got that and never got help for it and why you pass at a young age. I don't want to go to the doctors because I don't feel like I'm being taken seriously because they weigh me. Well, let me explain to you something very, very simple, okay? This is as simple as it gets. The reason why you go to the doctors and the reason why you have a doctor's appointment, they always weigh you, is because, again, there's an optimal weight for your height. Every single person, there's an optimal weight for your height. If you are overweight significantly, and you come into the doctors, and let's say, hypothetically, you're 200 pounds overweight, and you are having trouble breathing, like just doing basic tasks, like going on a hike, or walking up steps, and you're huffing, and you're having a hard time breathing, and the doctor says, well, part of the reason is because you're significantly overweight for your size and your height. Oh! You're judging me! You're attacking me! You're making fun of me! You're not taking me seriously! Well, it just happens to be that it's a medical fact that you being 200 pounds overweight is going to cause you to not be able to hike up a stairs or run 5 miles or something like that. Like, do you not understand that? That's why they weigh you. They don't weigh you to want to judge you, and they weigh you because there are health complications if you're overweight. And if you're underweight, there are health complications too. It's overweight, bad. Super underweight, bad. Right in the middle, or a little bit overweight, or a little bit too thin, it's not as bad. A doctor is not evil or mean if he tells you a medical fact about your health. But it's ladies like this who literally cannot comprehend medical facts, that if you choose to be overweight and are struggling breathing or hiking a 5-mile hike in the Pacific Northwest of Washington State, something that I love to do, and you're struggling doing that, it is most likely due to the fact that it's your weight. And I'm the bad guy. The doctors are the bad guys. This lady's crazy.
Just because someone's smaller, just in the same way as someone's bigger, there's no way that you could diagnose someone's health just by looking at them.
You're right. I can't just diagnose somebody's health just by looking at them. I shouldn't. Nobody should. That's what doctors are for. But you don't go to doctors. So at the end of the day, you're doomed.
You wouldn't go up to a thin person or comment on pictures listing off all the health problems that they may or may not have. Yet again, another privilege. So I can put a picture up on Instagram and I'm listed with everything that's wrong with me. Of course, none of it is true because nothing's wrong with me.
Lady, this is the sad reality about being a model on Instagram. You can be thin as could be, and people are going to leave comments, especially if you're a model, saying that there's all these things that are wrong with you, that you're not heavy enough, that you need thicker thighs, that you need a bigger bootay, or that you need bigger everything. Like, you need more weight on you. But then you could also be overweight, and you're gonna have people saying that you need to be thinner, and that the reason that you're unhappy or the reason that you look or you have bad acne is because you are overweight, which overweightness can cause some of those things. You're in the modeling industry. Not that that justifies people writing mean comments telling you what's wrong with you, but if you're in the modeling industry and you can't still accept the fact that there are gonna be mean people judging you no matter what the size, what you look like, men or woman, then get out of that industry. The modeling industry is horrible. I can't imagine anyone wanting to actually go into that. All the stigmas, all the pressures of society of how women have to look this way, be this way, how men have to look this way, be this way, that'd just be an unhappy way of a career, for me anyway. Just because it's something that's common and happens doesn't make it right, but there's no way to avoid it unless you're not a model or you're not posting on Instagram. You're on the internet. You gotta grow thicker skin. And I hate watering it down to grow thicker skin, but ultimately that's what it boils down to. Because you can't control what people think. You can't control what people write.
Before you roll your eyes at the idea of thin privilege, just try putting yourself in someone else's shoes and just looking at it from their point of view.
I tried to look at it from a different point of view. And all I can see is you angry, upset, and uncomfortable, pointing your finger at everybody else rather than holding yourself personally accountable for your own life choices and you putting yourself in a position of being overweight. And there's nothing wrong inherently. I don't have anything against you being overweight. That's not the issue. The issue is you're pointing fingers at everybody else rather than self-reflecting on yourself and focusing on yourself and improving yourself. And no, I'm not going to put myself in your shoes, ever. Because I guarantee you that your feet are a lot bigger than mine, and my foot wouldn't fit in yours. Not saying that to be mean, I'm saying that because that's the reality. And there is no thin privilege. Just like there is no overweight privilege in the context of the word privilege itself. We have to stop using and watering down a word that actually has significant meaning and can be applicable in real-world instances rather than applying it to, I have headphone privileges, guys, because I have wireless headphones and you don't. Oopsie. Like, do you see how dumb that is? Receding hairline privilege, balding privilege, like, I don't want to repeat myself again.
How it could affect them or how it could make them feel. I'm not having to go at thin people at all, but just simply acknowledging there is the privilege that society has unfortunately put on people who are thinner. Just to combat it, just acknowledge it, be accepting of anybody of any size, and don't fall into what society and the media are trying to tell us that are right or wrong. There are bigger people in the world, there are smaller people in the world, celebrating everybody's differences. Everybody being kind to one another regardless of your size.
That's the only thing in this entire video that I agree with, but you are having a get-go at people who are thin, and that's the ultimate reason why I'm responding to this, is because it's really poor and really disingenuous that you make a big deal about people being thin and you being upset at the fact that we make life choices that are our own personal responsibility to keep our lifestyle and bodies healthy, and you choose not to. And that's fine that you choose not to. I'm not judging you for that. But I am judging you for coming at thin people because you want to point the finger at everybody else except yourself. And that's the problem. A lot of these issues that you've expressed here in this video are issues that you need to deal with yourself. They're not my problem. They're not the consumer's problem. They're not the people on the transport problem. They're not the people going shopping's problem. They're not the people at a restaurant eating's problem. If you feel these negative things about yourself, it's probably because you lack energy due to the fact that you are overweight. That's not me being mean. That's another medical fact. If you're super overweight, you're going to lack energy, and if you lack energy, you're not going to be as happy, and if you're not as happy, you're going to be depressed. If you're not as depressed, you're going to be lacking confidence. If you're lacking confidence, you're going to be miserable. If you're miserable, you may be depressed, and if you're depressed, you're... You know what I'm going, like, I don't need to... What else is for me to say other than you're wrong? And I hope we can start not using the word privilege and apply it to every little small detail around our universal life. Use privilege where it actually belongs, where privilege exists. And it definitely doesn't exist with you being overweight or me being thin. That's all I gotta say. Hope you enjoyed this video. Peace.